Hey guys, welcome to my PC build. The components I'm using are the Corsair VI Hero motherboard, the AMD Ryzen 1800X CPU, the Corsair Air 540 cube case, the Seagate FireCuda solid state drive, which is 2TB, 32GB of Corsair Vengeance RAM, a Blu-ray player, Radeon Sapphire HD 7970 graphics card, the Corsair 650W PSU. The CPU cooler is the Arctic Liquid Freeze. I have already inserted the Blu-ray player, which is as simple as just removing the cover. It then slots in. This is the same for the solid state drives, they just slot into the casing. When you're inserting your power supply unit, just make sure that the vent on the power supply unit is pointing towards a vent in the case so that you get maximum cooling and it will not overheat. This power supply unit did fit very snugly into this case, and it was difficult to get in with the wires for the case being at the bottom. Now I'm going to connect the Blu-ray player to the power. And connect the SATA cable. I'm now going to remove the bracket that came with the motherboard. A word of advice there, the Arctic Liquid Freeze does not come with an AM3 back bracket. So if you do need one, they will send one out free of charge, but just make sure that you are aware so that if you do need one, you can order one in good time, as I could imagine that they're not going to be sent next day delivery. So you can order one when you order your components, much rather than having to wait. Luckily enough, I had one lying around that I could use. There is a hole from the other side of the case that allows you to put the back bracket onto the motherboard without having to remove the motherboard again, because I previously installed the motherboard I'm now using the screws that came with the Liquid Freeze CPU cooler. However, it did come with two lots. It came with the AMD and the Intel. The AMD screws were not deep enough. It did not allow you to fasten on top of the CPU. So I had to use the Intel screws, which allowed it to sit perfectly on top. I'm now going to put the thermal paste onto the CPU. This is the thermal paste that came with the Ryzen, and I have to admit that it is a really nice paste. It was smooth and it spread on very easily. I have purchased a few before that were very thick and didn't spread on and could be a bit gritty. This one was a very nice one. It allows you to get that thin layer on. If this is your first time putting thermal paste onto a CPU, try and keep it thin. Try and ensure that all areas are covered thinly and evenly. You don't need too much, about the size of a pea. I am now going to attach the CPU to the back bracket. As you can see with the Intel screws, it went on fine. I have just tightened it too much, so I'm going to loosen it so that I can get all four on before tightening. The good thing about the Crosshair VI motherboard is that it does have a port where you can plug in your water cooler, and on your settings you can see and regulate the temperatures and the pressures. I'm now removing the front of the case so that I can get to the fans at the front. The good thing about this case is that the screen that I am now removing is magnetic. It's so easy to remove. Plus, you do not need to remove any screws to get the top of the case off, and then the front of the case just slides off. It's very easy. I'm now going to remove the top of the case, as I am going to need to move the fans from the front to the top due to having the Arctic Cool 360, because the radiator is a 32cm radiator and it will only fit at the front of the case. So I need to move the fans. This is the radiator for the CPU. This bit is quite fiddly due to having to go through the front of the case, then through 2 holes in the fans into the holes in the radiator. It was quite fiddly and difficult to see, which is why I keep moving the light, so I'm sorry for the lighting. If it's your first time using a double-sided fan radiator like this, make sure that you do have some of your fans pointing in and some of the fans pointing out, so that you get that pull through, because if they were all facing outwards, if they were all facing inwards, they would cancel each other out. I also have since turned the radiator around, as I had all the wires for the fans coming to the top for ease, but for looks, it definitely was better to have them on the other side, even if it did make it even more fiddly. This is my graphics card. It is the Radeon Sapphire HD 7970. It didn't fit against the fans and the radiator, so I did remove the bottom fan, but managed to squeeze it back in after, and it doesn't actually touch the fan blades, it was just touching the case. So it does fit, it was a tight squeeze. And so this is the finished system. As you can hear, it runs very quietly. I was expecting it to be more noisier than this with all the fans, but runs very quiet. The CPU runs at 36 degrees. Another good thing about the Crosshair VI is that it has an error code counter, I don't know what to call it, where if there are any errors in the system, it pulls up the digits there and you can just look in the manual and it will tell you what is wrong with the system. But I haven't had any so far. It just seems to stay sat on some, which is saying that it is running okay. But yeah, it's very quiet and simple to use. It's a very good instruction manual to say where all the little bits are plugged in. It also looks good with how it lights up. But yeah, it's very cool, very quiet. Having the front glass panel off keeps the whole room cool. It's like a fridge. It's very cool, very good, and it does the job. It renders very quickly, which is what I wanted it for. I'm very impressed. Thank you guys for watching.